And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Got Podcast, episode 53.
53.
This is your host, Diggy Bailz.
Bailz Pagliacci.
And today we wanted to talk Spotify numbers.
Once again.
Just to give perspective to the artists out there and to let you know that you're not alone in not getting streams. You're not alone in not having a solid fan base. But now is the time for you and your career to change that and to actually get those followers, you know? And that's what this podcast has been dedicated to for however long.
And actually, like, you know, just looking at the numbers, once again, we always say that, you know, in this industry, it's definitely a fighter's chance, essentially. But when you start looking at these numbers and you start breaking them down a little bit more, it seems, once again, it's more reachable and it becomes a little bit more understandable why, we say to do these things on this podcast and why these things are important and how it translates into these numbers.
Well, flat out, when you look at these numbers, you're talking about people who don't market their music.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks that they're going to skate through this game not having to do any work besides the music. And at this point in time, that is completely impossible. There's no one who can just make music, not do any marketing, and still blow up.
Exactly.
Even the guys that you think just blew up overnight and are just overnight celebrities, they did marketing.
Even if Jesus dropped the album right now, I think he would need to do some marketing.
He would still need to do marketing because in Jerusalem, I don't know that you're just getting music out there like that.
You know what I'm saying?
So you said, what was the number of people getting over 50 listeners a month?
So let's start right here. So Spotify Loud and Clear, there's 8 million artists on Spotify, registered for Spotify for Artists. 6.3 million of those artists have less than 50 monthly listeners.
Okay, so let's break that down. Less than 50 monthly listeners. That, first off, I'm not going to sit here and act like getting 50 monthly listeners is an easy task.
It's not.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of artists get confused. I think they think getting 50 monthly listeners is a super easy task. We're not talking about 50 people playing your record. We're talking about 50 people that consistently come back to your tracks and listen to your records. That's completely different, right? It's easy to get 50 people to listen to your record. It's hard to get 50 people to keep on coming back to where they're your monthly listener. That's the difficulty. And I've had conversations with artists where they go, this year, I'm looking to get 500 monthly listeners, and then I'm going to do 1,000. And it's like, you got to get 50 first.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And by those numbers, you're talking about 6.3 out of 8 are not getting 50 listeners a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, last year I had 200 something. This year, right now, I haven't put out a record in a long time. I have 81, I think.
And that shit drops, and that's the hard part about it. And it cycles on a 28-day basis, and that shit fluctuates all the time.
Right, and you're also talking about, like, I don't know if anyone out there knows this, but, like, just because you gained a follower doesn't mean that you're keeping that follower.
Nope.
Even when you're talking about Instagram terms, there's people who they'll have 30,000 followers, and if they don't keep up the marketing, if they don't keep up the posts, that shit just keeps dropping.
You lose it
on a daily
daily
basis.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing applies to your music. If you're not dropping music, at some point, those people that kept on coming back, they're like, all right, well, I've come back month after month. He's not dropping anything new.
What's the point?
So I'm not going to keep coming back. But they will get alerted when you do drop something. So then you'll get that listener to maybe come back. But then you have to keep them there. And that's the difficult part. It's keeping them there constantly.
And then, like, once again, when we trying to set these bars or try to be realistic in our goals and like what we need to achieve. And honestly, from that number right there, it takes time. It takes a slow process. And once again, 50 seems like it's a small number, but it's kind of hard to get by because once again, as you can see, 6.3 million out of the 8 million artists are struggling with just even reaching that number.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
And that's why when you have those conversations about marketing and you talk to people about the importance of it, and they're like, I'll eventually market. The reality of you actually getting a listening base before you market your music is slim to none.
It's the complete opposite.
That's the time that you actually start gaining a following is when you start marketing your music. And it makes total sense if you put it in any other business terms, but with music, for some reason, people can't grasp it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to market your stuff and you don't need to go to a PR firm. You have all these tools available at your fucking palm. So it's like, all you have to do is wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm going to go for it.
And please, I've started to see like these bigger name artists. I seen The Game. He was like basically promoting like one of those fake sites to get streams and shit. Because
Yeah, don't do
he
it.
probably got a bag. Please, I know it's like a big name artist and you've seen him before. Please don't listen to it either. It's just fake. I commented under that shit like, yo, stop doing this. Like, this is weird. I tagged him and everything. Like, yeah, I have to somewhere along the lines, it has to stop. I get you trying to get a bag for yourself,
right?
But at the detriment of everybody else that's struggling to make it there.
Well, the rough part is, what is that artist supposed to do when you know that the music industry is not doing well? What is that artist supposed to do? Turn down whatever they were paying him?
And once again,
I'm sure he's
I
not
understand that.
Light.
Yeah, I understand that too.
You know, I'm sure it cost them a pretty penny to get him to say anything about it. But what you're not seeing as a young artist on the come up that doesn't know the industry is that's not real.
It's disgusting.
It's an act. You know, like just like the Block 365 mixtapes were an act. Disgusting. And you don't know that, so you go out on a limb and you spend $300 or whatever it costs, and then nothing happens to your career. And we've all been there.
One last one of us.
You know, so when we're talking about these things, again, it's not us putting down artists. Like, we've been there too. We were young, we made music, and we fucking paid for shit that we shouldn't have paid for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the thing, is like, this podcast is constantly going to be reminding you that you don't have to do certain things to get on, and to point you in the right direction of what you should be putting your money toward, which is the Instagram ads, the Facebook ads, YouTube ads. There's so many different ways to actually get your music in front of real people, and that buying playlists is not one of them.
And then that kind of just crosses over to the next fucking statistic, that out of the 8 million artists that are on Spotify, 67% of them have under 10 songs out. Under 10 songs out. You're an artist, and you have under 10 songs out.
What is one of the things that we constantly talk about being very important for your artistry?
Putting out frequently, putting out your music, getting it out there.
Catalog in general.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Like, fuck frequent. Just having a catalog. We always say that if you are marketing your songs and there's no music on your page, then it's pointless, because once they get to the page, they have nothing to listen to. If you have one song, they're going to get to the page, listen to the one song, and then go, all right, cool. I accomplished what I was here for, I guess.
And even deeper than that, like, I don't think you're even able to like get the Spotify radio and shit like that if you have under 10 songs. Like, I think there's like a certain amount of songs that you need that they'll actually provide you with the Spotify radio. And I'll tell you guys firsthand that majority of my streams come from my Spotify radio. Just because people are somehow finding it or going into it, majority of my streams come from Spotify radio.
Well, you're also attached to other artists. And those artists have their own following, and they might click on their radio station, hear one of your songs, and then go to your radio station. You know what I mean? Like,
and something I even also noticed too is like, you know, at this point, I think I got like 48 songs out, right? So at this point, I'm basically, it's my Spotify radio, yes, but I have 48 songs that they're probably trying to dish off in it, where some artists maybe only have 20, 25. So it's like, even when somebody's listening to the radio, they're going to hear more of Bailz. Whether they go to another artist section, they're going to probably hear more of me just because I have more of a catalog.
Right.
And that's where that shit really helps.
But whether you have 25 or you have 50, if you have more than 10, you're doing better than fucking majority of the people that are out. So that's something to take note of. Like, you want to have a catalog. You want more than 10 records on your page, because that goes a long way. Obviously, there's not a lot of artists out there who have more than 10 records. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people who go and they compare themselves to all these different artists, right? And with these numbers, it's showing you that majority of what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're comparing yourself to is fraudulent.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing right there.
You're sitting there and you're comparing yourself to these people who you think are doing way better than you. And in all reality, if you look at the numbers, they don't back that up.
Mm-hmm.
They show that more people are in the same boat as you if you're not getting plays, if you don't have following, if you don't have a catalog. More people are like you than aren't, you know?
And I think that just like puts a fire under your ass, or it should put a fire under your ass, to understand that, once again, when you break shit down for what it really is, it doesn't seem so unrealistic to reach these certain points that you're feeling like this person is doing so much better than me. It's not that hard. Drop more than 10 songs. That's
right.
That's number one. You already just jumped over a fucking huge hurdle by dropping more than 10 songs.
100%. So let's set goals for people, right? If you're an artist listening to this podcast right now, drop more than 10 songs.
Simple. You just
that's an easy one for you to get ahead of the pack. Drop more than 10 songs. That's a simple one. You shouldn't have trouble doing that, especially if you want to choose a career of artistry.
Making music.
Okay? let's set a realistic goal for yourself. Within the next year, how do you get your shit to more than 50 monthly listeners? Realistic. That's a realistic goal. That's not a difficult one. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that it's easy to do, but if you market your shit properly, then 50 listeners should be the goal, because we're already telling you that the numbers don't back up that a lot of people have that. You know, so, and if you're looking at the number and saying, well, 2 million people still have, or 1.7 still have that, you're not looking at music as a whole. Spotify is not just a hip hop platform.
Nope.
It's not just an R&B platform. You're talking about every artist in the world, no matter the genre, is on Spotify. So you're comparing yourself to a lot of these artists who are in the game, signed, and they go into that number of people who have more than 50 monthly listeners. Majority of independent acts probably don't.
Exactly. And I didn't even think about it like that.
Guys, my apologies. We had technical difficulties. You could blame that on me. I want to know where we were cooking from.
I think we just trying to set a goal.
Well, okay. So let's get back to setting goals, right? So we said if you have more than 50 monthly listeners, that's a realistic goal that you can achieve. And I don't think that it should take you a long time to do that, especially if you're marketing your music, right?
Yeah, definitely not.
If you're trying to put out 10 records as an artist, you should be able to do that with no difficulty. That's not one of those goals that's like, how would I ever achieve that? You know what I mean? And realistically, I'm not going to drop names, but I was talking to an artist who's established, and he's been in the game for probably a decade now, right? And he was saying, yo, you should try the flood the streets method. He's like, that shit works. And what he was talking about was that rush shit, dropping a record every week. And we have seen, because we used to do the shit all the time, that is an effective method.
Yep, because once you stop dropping, you start seeing the shit start slowing down.
Now, as an artist, how do you go about doing that? Because it's not realistic to record a new record every week, get it mixed and mastered. So how do you do that? The good thing is you don't have a name yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not you put out a record this week or next week, it doesn't matter. So what I would say and what I would suggest is you record a bunch of records, you get a bunch of records mixed and mastered, and then you have a catalog set up so that you have a release schedule set up. You shoot some videos. You do this all prior to dropping. I would compile all this content before you drop rather than doing it as you're dropping, right? And that way, when you start dropping, it's going to feel like you recorded. People at home aren't going to know that those records were recorded for the past 2 months.
Yeah, they have no idea.
They have no idea. To them, you're just working hard as hell, and you record a new record every week, and you drop a new record every week. Russ probably had 30 records set up so they could drop. And then in the meantime, he's able to record records, because you can record during that process. But what you want to do is have enough records so that you have maybe 2 months of drops. And in the meantime, you get to record new records. So then on the 3rd month and the 4th month, you have records set up.
And another way to think about it is just like basically meal prepping your music. Like, you know what I'm saying? When people try to get healthy or they try to get themselves into the gym, one of the main things that you have to do is kind of control your diet and like how you're eating. And one of the best ways to control that is by meal prepping and having this shit basically done way beforehand, but you know it's going to come up. But now you have something in place that's going to help you along in the process. So if you're building all this content, you're building all these songs and like basically building up that catalog within yourself, now you have all the time to be able to put the shit out on an even pace or whatever pace you feel like you want to put it out. But it's less taxing on you because you kind of already did all the grunt work. At that point, you're just doing the planning. It's the same thing when it comes to planning content. A lot of people say, yo, film a bunch of content in the beginning of the fucking month, edit all that shit, and then just have that shit on a natural flow. So this way it's less taxing on yourself. It's less work that you technically have to put in throughout the month. And then at that point, you have enough time and space to do other shit in your life.
Because I think people see that whole Russ structure and they think that he was recording a new one every week.
Yeah.
And that's just not how that works. You have to have content set up. You have to have content in your back pocket so that at any moment you could drop, right? A lot of people hoard records. A lot of people are holding on to records. And I used to hear this all the time. Yo, I got mad shit in the vault. Why?
Only thing that belongs in the vault is gold.
Like, what is it doing for you in the vault? You have
Nothing.
all these records stacked up, and the longer that goes by, the lesser the chance that you're actually going to want to drop them, because at that point they're getting old to you.
And then on top of that, I feel like the vault thing kind of just stems from a little bit in the sense of insecurity of not
For
knowing
sure, 100%.
what exactly that music is going to do out there, and you just don't want to release it, so
But
it sounds cooler.
Exactly. People pretend like it's some cool shit. Like
Yeah.
I'm holding on to these records. These are fucking bangers. But really, it's like you're scared that someone's gonna hear it and be like, "This shit's trash."
And even the bigger sign artists, they'll say that I have a vault of music, and it's like there's a reason why we'll never hear that music.
Right.
There's a specific reason why even the label said it, or they themselves said like, yeah, we're not just gonna release this. Oh, I got a song with this person. I got a song with that person. I got a song with this person. I don't know if those are ever gonna come out.
Right. You always hear about those records. You never hear if they're good or bad.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got a song with this one. Maybe it was the worst record ever. And that's why it didn't come out. Maybe you guys both decided, yo, this record is not good. Just because you have records with people, just because you have records sitting in the vault doesn't mean that they're good.
And literally, I just listened to a song that I technically have in the vault that's never going to be released because I just said to myself, yeah, I don't see this going anywhere.
Right.
This isn't going anywhere.
Right. And that's the thing that we have to, do as artists. We have to understand that the records aren't benefiting us sitting in a folder somewhere. So are they good enough to drop? If they are, why are you holding on to it? Let it go. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you build your catalog. Let go of those records. And a lot of up and coming artists, you still have to get comfortable with your music. So that gives you the time to actually get comfortable with your music, to get comfortable with the mixes on your music, to get comfortable with the sound of your music. Maybe in that process of you recording 30 records, you'll figure out, oh, this is the vibe that I like going for. And you found out your sound in doing that. Instead of just freestyling over beats and trying to throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. You know what I mean? Like, right now is the time for you to sit back, pen a bunch of records, put together a decent catalog that you do have in a folder, getting ready to release, and then flood the streets. Do that weekly release, or that bi-weekly release, so that you're constantly giving people content. You have people coming back to your page because they know that this guy drops every other week or this guy drops every week, and they're now checking on the new releases, where beforehand you were just dropping once in a blue, and it's really easy to just miss that drop. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I try to tell people that there's this experiment that I do when I post old records that I made, and it happens all the time. I'll post a clip of an older record that I made, and the amount of people that hit me up and go, yo, this shit's hard, bro. They think it's a brand new record. They don't know that I dropped that shit 3 years ago.
I swear to you, you did that to me recently, and I didn't know you dropped that one of those records. I was about to hit you up, but I went back and definitely checked before. So I was like, yeah, I don't think he would have told me if he dropped some shit. It definitely does work. It almost got me. It deadass almost got me.
Okay. I was talking to my guy Rabbits, and I was telling him that we have arrogance as artists. We have this certain arrogance where we think that once we drop a record, our entire following is going to go and listen to that record
instantly.
That there's no opportunity that they would have missed the record that we dropped, right? And I'm here to tell you that majority of your following, especially with Instagram, if you're posting it on your Instagram story, the second you go to promote some shit on Instagram for free, they're already knocking back the people that see it.
They are hiding your shit.
Hiding. 100%.
I thought it was hate. They just hide.
No, it's not that. It's that they want you to pay for marketing, and rightfully so. I understand. It's a free platform. They allow a lot of opportunities to come from that free platform, but this is the one thing that they're not going to allow, right? They're going to, and people call it shadow banning. It's not shadow banning. It's that you're marketing something on a platform that charges for marketing, right? So when you post a record on your story, I would say 1/10 of your following is going to see it.
Yeah, I agree with those numbers.
You know what I mean? 1/10 of your following is going to see it. So that leaves 9/10 of your following that don't even know the record exists. So then you have to post it on your page. You have to make sure that you're getting it in front of as many people as possible. Don't spam people. I don't mean go to all their DMs and tell them about the record. That's not how you do it. That's gonna lower your following by a lot if you do that a lot, because that is harmful for you as an artist, because it's just not, it's annoying.
Yeah.
It's just annoying. It's just not something you want to be doing. You don't want to spam people. You don't want to DM them your records. It just doesn't work, right? You give people the option to click on your records, and you do that by posting it on your story and your page. Your story is hiding a lot of shit. And I'll tell you this, just as an experiment, Go and take a picture of the sky and write some words on that picture and post it to your story.
The most engagement.
You'll get mad engagement because it's not promoting anything. Now go and post one of your records and just check the side by side of what they actually posted out there. And you'll see that this is not a conspiracy.
It's been so many times where I will post something so random that has nothing to do with my music and it gets like 200 views.
100%.
And then I'll try to throw my music on right behind it and that shit instantly jumps down to like 100 or like 70.
60.
It happens automatically.
Yep.
And, you know, another thing, you know, as far as like the not spamming and like kind of something I've been starting to do with TikTok is just, you know, when you have a catalog of music, there's certain parts of your song, you know, everybody just cuts to those specific parts. What I've been doing is I have so many songs that I just take a specific part of each song and I'll just have that in rotation for like a week or like 3 to 5 days. And then I'll switch it up. So number one, it's going to give everybody a chance to listen to these songs per se, or just get a hear of them or the sound of it. And then next week, it's just some other shit. And it's like, at that point, it's not like so much spamming, or it doesn't feel so much like spamming to me because I'm giving you a different variety.
It's not spamming. I'll give you a good example of who did that. There's a kid, Nimstar.
Yeah, he gives a different variety every time.
But Nimstar, he did a good job at not being spammy. He just was posting his record a lot. And if you post your record a lot, eventually everyone's going to see it. If you keep on posting the same record, eventually everyone's going to see it, right?
I think that shit like had 6 million views, I think the last video I seen. Or somewhere around it. Maybe even 60, but I think it was 6 million or so.
But he keeps on posting the same record, and he's putting belief behind one record that is, in my eyes, a hit.
Mm-hmm. Mine too.
Right? And, you know, people think that it's corny if you keep on posting the same record, but really, it's the only way for you to get heard. It's the only way for you to actually get people to engage with it is to keep on posting it because, again, it's arrogance to believe that every time that you post something, everyone on your page saw it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe someone didn't even pick up their phone that day. That is a normal listener, but they just didn't see it and they missed it. And now you don't post it anymore because in your eyes, I don't want to be corny and keep on posting the same record, but you're not thinking about all the people that missed that post. So again, every time that I post an old record, new people hit me up and say, damn, this shit's hard, bro. When did you drop this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago.
And that kind of like goes into deeper to these numbers, right? And like where we kind of say, when you do reach a certain amount of streams on certain songs, I think Z even mentioned it too, like you should celebrate it. You should want to celebrate these things. And we're going to jump into these numbers again. So out of all the songs that's on Spotify, right? 51% of them, which is about 78.4 million, have under 500 streams. 60% of those songs have under 1,000 streams, and 79% have under 5,000 streams. And about 17.5 million have under 101 streams. So, like, if you get 100 streams on your fucking song, applaud yourself. Post that shit. Constantly post it. If you get fucking 500 to 1,000 streams, you have done something that a majority of people who have dropped music have not. So, like, even getting past the 50 monthly listeners, even getting past the having more than 10 songs, if you get 500 streams on a song, you just did so much more than a lot of people. And you don't even realize it because you're being drawn in by all the other fake shit that's within the industry.
It's
not
not even just
understanding.
fake shit. You know what it is? It's that people are looking at everyone's weekly numbers as far as like famous artists, right? Like, yo, Drake did 50 million last week. And then they're looking at their song and going, damn, I only got 100 plays.
Yeah.
You're not Drake, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and also, like, I just want it to be known. We had Corey on. He was talking about how these big name artists have huge budgets, right? Like, even Drake, who is the biggest artist in the world, has a marketing budget, and it's fucking astronomical.
He just fucking signed a deal for like what, 400 million or was it 40 million?
I'm not sure.
I think it was like, it was one of those. It was I think it was 40 million. Or he got like a quarterback number, I think.
But look, if Drake is putting 100 grand into marketing and he's the biggest artist in the world, what do you think you have to do in order to get plays? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you're talking about someone who probably could go without the marketing and he's still doing marketing. All these people, like, yo, Drake drops an album, he puts a bunch of billboards all around the country. Why does he do that? You know that Drake's dropping an album, right?
Yeah, everybody knows.
Why is he doing some ESPN cryptic marketing shit?
You just have to.
Why?
You have to.
Because artists have to market, no matter how big you are. Every artist has to market, and that's something that you have to stick in your brain and just be like, yo, I'm not actually going to get anywhere until I market my music.
And if anything that all these numbers just show us is that nobody's marketing their music.
Nobody's marketing their music.
That's just all it's showing.
And so You might say, yo, I don't have the budget to market my music. Well, do you have $20 a week?
There
Can
you
you
go.
figure out how to get $20 a week? Because if you get $20 a week and put that in rotation, you're doing more than majority of artists. And these numbers back that up.
They straight from Spotify, the loud and clear statistics, everything. It's straight there. Like all the data is there. It just depends on, are you going to be able to break down that data? And from seeing the data being broke down, what can you learn from it? Or what could you do in your artistry? Or what could you do in your music business expertise that's going to take you to the next fucking level? And honestly, it just seems like there's pretty simple steps to just get your ball rolling and also be able to get ahead of the herd. Because from what it looks like, from what the numbers, it's like everybody's doing it as a hobby. And, you know, some people do say, oh, I'm only doing music as a hobby. And honestly, these numbers are showing that that's what people are really doing.
Realistically, 90% of artists do music as a hobby.
Yeah. And that's what
These
the
are
numbers say.
Spotify numbers, and these are based on 8 million people. Like, yo, there's way more than 8 million artists on Earth.
And then you also got to think about, you know, other streaming platforms like Apple Music and shit like that. Yeah, there's other artists on there, but Spotify is, once again, the main where everybody's at.
Exactly. And also, like, yeah, there's Apple Music and shit, but I would think that if your music is on Apple Music, you're on Spotify too.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not like these numbers don't actually give you a true sample size because you're on all these platforms. The same artists are on every platform.
It's going to translate the same.
You know what I mean? If anything, Apple Music probably has less artists on it than a Spotify.
Yeah, I would say so.
Not more. You know what I mean? So the Spotify numbers, they are backed up. You know what I mean? You can look at those numbers and actually get an actual depiction of what's going on in the industry. Now, with numbers like what we're saying, this is meant to be inspirational and motivational to the artist sitting at home who's saying, how do I even break through? This is so unrealistic. The real numbers that we're setting are not unrealistic. These are super realistic numbers that will put you ahead of the pack. And when you get ahead of the pack, you have to keep going.
If you get 110 streams on any of your songs right now, you just went over 17.5 million people with that just one song. And honestly, for even a person like me who's, you know, started seeing streams, it's honestly put a lot of shit in more in perspective for me as well. It's like, oh shit, like
17.5 million?
Yeah.
How?
No, I had less than 101 streams, like 17.5 million songs.
Oh, out of 17.5 million songs. Okay.
Yeah, you know that's what I'm saying. Like 17.5 million songs, because I think it's more all over within Spotify. But 101 streams, like you'd be able to get 101 streams, 17.5 million songs are under that.
Right.
So it's like, that's just 101 streams. 50 monthly listens. Like if you think about it, 50 monthly listens is basically, if you can keep somebody to listen to your song 2 times from that 50 monthly listeners, you just basically reach that 101 streams.
Mm-hmm.
The math is mathing.
Yeah. And it's attainable.
Obtainable.
So you're a person sitting at home right now thinking about your next move. These are the moves. Like as an artist at home right now, these are the moves that you have to make. 50 monthly listeners and 100 streams.
And more than 10 songs.
And more than 10 songs. Like, yo, write this down. Write these numbers down and get to them. Because these things are things that you can get to. This is not difficult. You know what I mean? It's music as a whole is difficult. Getting to that superstar status is difficult. These numbers, as an artist, 10 tracks should not be difficult. Getting 50 monthly listeners is very attainable, and you should be able to do that. Just market your music properly. Provide content constantly.
Market yourself properly.
And remember what you're here for. Like we did an episode, our last episode was Start With Why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you here? Are you here to actually start your career? Or are you here to just be a hobbyist? If you're here to be a hobbyist, then one, I don't know why you're watching this show.
Yeah,
because this show is not for hobbyists. This show is trying to set you up for a career. And two, if you're here to actually start a career, then this doesn't seem like a lot. You know what I mean? Like this doesn't seem like a lot as a stepping stone to actually starting a career. So if I were you, I would be very inspired right now by the numbers that you're hearing and knowing that you can get ahead of the herd really easy. I would be very inspired to, one, after this episode's up, I would start writing music.
Mm-hmm.
I would start putting together new songs, and these would be my goals. I would put those numbers on the wall somewhere, and I would stare at them every day and be like, how the fuck do I do this? Let me get to it.
And shout out to all the people who have been, following us on YouTube, listening to us on all these streaming platforms. And then, a lot of times what we hear is, I don't understand why you guys are not bigger than what you really are. And it's like, I think the numbers kind of back on like why it's kind of harder, or it's harder for people to kind of understand the information we're given, because a lot of people are looking at this as a hobby. So if you are one of those people that out here that's really taking it serious, that's why you are here on this podcast. You understand that this isn't a hobby thing. And I just find it so funny that it's always been like a common theme, like, yo, you guys are giving so many gems, why you guys slept on. It's like, it's not that we're slept on. It's just, I don't think that people are taking this as seriously as they should be, or they have a perception of what the industry is, and they want to go with the glamorized version of it and not what it really is.
And also, don't worry about us. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to give these gems, whether there was one person here or a million people here, we were going to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't start the podcast thinking that, yo, we're going to get 1 million fucking subscribers.
Nope.
That would be beautiful. That would be cool. You know what I mean? But that's not why we started the podcast. If 10 people listened and it benefit their career, we would have done the shit regardless. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want it to seem like we're doing charity work either. Like, there's a common goal here. We want to get you up there. And we both have aspirations within the music industry. So that's something that we were going to do regardless.
Exactly.
The same way me and Bailz are going to be running a label in the future. And we're going to be doing the same thing with the artists that come through that label. That's what we're doing right now. And we're just giving this out so that people at home can get further than what we were able to do at your age.
Exactly.
You know
That's all
what I
it's
mean?
about.
And yeah, we're just trying to build the community. So let's keep that shit going. Let's get these numbers going and let's build.
Reach those goals. Reach those goals.
All right, guys. This is Rappers Guide Podcast. We're signing out. This is Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Peace out, guys.